You're listening to Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits, a podcast that encourages you to love more in your friends and to further consider the issues that plague friendships. I'm Alysa Lucas, and I used to dislike Valentine's Day. Specifically, there's so much pressure at maybe different points in life to be in a relationship and to have the perfect Valentine's Day, to have the perfect holiday. And now it's to showcase that on social media. And often the focus on romantic relationship means we often neglect the other people we love. But at a certain point, I was like, oh, whatever. I'm going to focus on friendship love. So happy Valentine's Day, friends. In this episode, I like to talk about telling friends that we love them because they can and should be celebrated this time of year and any time of the year and year round and all the time and every single day. I think you get the idea. Besties, kindred spirits, homies, soulmates. There is such a thing called platonic love. In fact, according to a 2018 Hack Spirit web article by Lachlan Brown, Plato talked about such things. Quote, neither family, nor privilege, nor wealth, nor anything but love can light that beacon which a man must steer by when he sets out to live a better life. End quote. Love is not limited to certain relationship, and Plato's ideas have now been formed into what we might describe as heterosexual opposite-sex friends. We're just friends. We're platonic friends. But friendship love or platonic love is intimacy and understanding among people without sexual or romantic feelings. A Psychology Today article from 2018 by Diana Rabe, quote, platonic love is a special emotional and spiritual relationship between two people who love and admire one another because of common interests, a spiritual connection, and similar worldviews. It does not involve any type of sexual involvement, end quote. But there are a lot of qualities of friends that we do need or want or care about or adore or love. And a lot of those things we might see in romantic relationship, but we might also see them in friendship without the romance or without the sex. And that is something we should celebrate. I get so many of my friendship memes I share on Facebook from the amazing page, The Joy of Friendship. I certainly recommend following the page. You'll have all sorts of friendship and wholesome memes and quotes and all that in your timeline. And don't we need all of that in our life? Absolutely. But their About section says this. Quote, The Joy of Friendship is a page created to celebrate and promote the value of all kinds of platonic, non-sexual, non-romantic connections, including deep friendships, committed housemates, platonic cuddle buddies, and platonic life partners. We want to challenge normative cultural norms and encourage people to build community that goes beyond their nuclear family. Specifically, amonormativity refers to the pressure people experience related to romance and marriage. Dr. Elizabeth Brake, a philosophy professor at Arizona State University, said this in her book, Minimizing Marriage. The belief that marriage and companion romantic love have special value leads to overlooking the value of other caring relationships. I call this disproportionate focus on marital and amorous love relationships as special sites of value, and the assumption that romantic love is a universal goal. Amonormativity. This consists in the assumptions that a central, exclusive, amorous relationship is normal for humans, and that it is a universally shared goal, and that such a relationship is normative, and that it should be aimed at in preference to other relationship types. Now, all of this, I think, is really fascinating because at different points in my life, I felt pressure to be in a relationship, and I know that there are many communities like asexuality and other communities in which this might be particularly of importance, like the aromantic community. And so I would love to have Dr. Brake on the podcast to talk a little bit more about it. And I think in these types of situations where we overlook friendship, we need to remember that we can love friends whether we're interested in romance or not, whether we are in a romantic relationship or not, that there are plenty of relationships to love on, and friendship is one of those. We can love our friends, and we should. So let's start or continue telling them that we love them. So what I want to do today, this is a shorter episode because I just wanted to sort of punch us in the face with love for our friends, right? And so I'm going to do why we should say I love you and then all the ways that we can say it. So let's get into it. The number one thing is life is short. There's something important about people knowing how we feel about them because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And that is something that I experienced when one of my best friends, Allison, was killed in a car accident. And I think a lot about the last time we interacted and wishing I would have said, hey, love you, friend. Can't wait to see you next time. Or we should get together. Any of those things that would indicate to her that I cared for her, I didn't get a chance to say. And we never know what's going to happen. And that's one part of it. But just the idea of why wouldn't we want to tell people these things, right? A 2013 Thought Catalog article says rejection may be easier to handle than someone not knowing how you felt. So if you tell a friend, like, I love you, and they're like, reject you in some way in the sense of like, they're not as affectionate, or they're not going to verbalize it, or they're just like, I don't see our friendship that way. And I'm not talking about romance. Maybe they're just like, we're friends, but we're not friends like that, And so rejection may be easier than to find out, weeks, years later that you weren't able to share this with someone that you care about. And let's be real. It feels good to know our friends care for us and that we care for them. And this world just needs a whole lot more love and kindness. And I think the saying is kindness is free, sprinkle that shit everywhere. Why not do that with our friends as well, right? Just let them know in lots of different ways that we love them because it feels good. And one of the things that we know from relationship research is that we typically like people who like us. And so we might feel fairly confident in our friendship, or we might be reassured based on telling our friend that we love them in many different venues. And to be perfectly honest, it helps us maintain our friendships. I talk a lot about that on here. We talk about love languages around the holidays, how you can do something for your friend around the holiday to show that you care. These sorts of problems might make it harder to maintain the friendship. These are the sorts of things that you would want to do to maintain it. So maintenance of any relationship is important, and it takes work. We can't just assume that people know what we feel or know that they're our best friend or our closest confidant or one of the most important people in our worlds or our favorite person, whatever the case might be. A lot of times people might not know, and there's some reassurance in that and it continuing your friendship, and you might grow closer by having these bonding moments that indicate that you love each other. And it just is something that keeps the friendship going. It's a lot of times, friendships get pushed aside. And so maintaining that through verbalizing it or doing in other ways is certainly going to keep friendships moving forward and maintaining them. It's important. I say this all the time for romantic relationships, for family relationships, for workplace relationships. And obviously, most importantly here for me is friendship, is that it's like maintaining your car. You have to get oil changes. You have to do, you don't go, I had to go while I was out an oil change. Sometimes we go through things and then we go give our car some love and then it works better, or that there are 365 days a year and today is just one day. Today is just Valentine's Day. And I don't use the word just a lot, but here it is one holiday. It is a great holiday to let people know that you love them, whether romantic, friend, or otherwise. But there are 364 days otherwise in a year. So what are you going to do the other days? It's not just birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. What are you going to do on someone's worst day? What are you going to do on a day that it's an anniversary of something traumatic for them? What are you going to do when it's a Tuesday? What are you going to do for them when they have to work an 18-hour shift? What are the things they do for you? And how do you know your friends love you? It's all about that maintenance. And then finally, why we should say I love you. There's an Odyssey article, and one of the first things is, why not? Why not? Certainly, our society is set up where there's much more intimacy expected or approved of in female friendships and friendships when females are involved, or anyone who identifies as feminine or female, and that we put a lot of pressure on men's friendships and boys' friendships not to show any emotion just individually, but in those friendships not to, it's be a man, be masculine, But I think that what happens in those friendships is there's a lot of covert intimacy in ways that guys might say they love you to their other friends. But I think that this is something that should be open. It shouldn't be about femininity or masculinity. It should be about, in my life, you matter, and I want you to know that. So how can we say I love you? So I have a list, and it is 12 items. So the 12 ways that we can say I love you. And so I'm going to let you know what they are first, and then I'm going to explain them. So how can we say I love you? You hug it, you say it, you yell it, you call it, you name it, you joke it, you text it, you post it, you gift it, you do it, you help it, you live it. I love it. So obviously, most people say, well, to say I love you to a friend is hard because I don't want to say those words, or I'm not as affectionate, or I'm not very good with my words. There's only essentially one thing on this list that is about saying I love you. We can say I love you in so many other ways. The first way is to hug it. And I have to say that for this part of the episode where I talk about ways you can say I love you, my students from my interviewing class helped by telling me what they do to say I love you and your friends. And so appreciate that. Shout out to Com363, Fire Up Chips, whoop whoop. Okay, so the hug it. So some of my students said we hug when we leave, we have high fives and other handshakes, and we have secret complicated handshakes. And I always think of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and him and Jazzy Jeff have that one handshake where they hit each other's hands and they throw their arms behind their head. And so hug it includes everything in terms of touch. You can hug it, high five it, fist bump it, handshake it, and all those secret complicated handshakes, I might think of Fresh Prince, which is very 90s of me, okay? But think about sports and think about all these videos that we see of teachers doing this with their students, where each student has a secret handshake with their teacher. Friends come up with handshakes. You see this when basketball players are coming out and they're doing the starting lineup, and each player has a different handshake with one of their teammates. And so that is something, not only can you do that every single time you see someone, but I would imagine coming up with that handshake and practicing it so you get it right takes some time and ways to bond and show that you love your friend. And then one of my students said there's lots of punching and wrestling, so kind of messing with each other and that sort of thing. And that can be fun and can be a way to say, I love you. The second part of this list is to say it. Quote, I tell all my friends that I love them. It honestly doesn't bother me. I think everyone should tell their friends they love them. Life is short, end quote. And so a lot of my students would say, I love you at the end of phone calls. I love this one. So my student Malia was like, hey, guess what? I love you. Or I hate you so much, which is a great way to show you love you when you love your friend because you're using like ways to razz them, right? Now, that doesn't work for all friendships, but it can work for some. And I love this one. I can't do accents, so I can't help here. But it says, my friends and I speak in British accents to each other when we feel most comfortable with each other. And I'm like, I got to be a fly on the wall for this situation. Like, I'll just trying to speak in British accents. Another way you can say it without saying I love you or saying I hate you or taking on an accent, you can ask them how their day was. And Malia also says, I tell them I'm proud of them and how far they've come just because everyone deserves to hear it. Everyone deserves to hear that they're doing good. It's like Christian Jenner. You're doing amazing, sweetie. We need to hear those things. And that is one way to say I love you besides saying I love you. The third one is to yell it. This is something new. So friends, you have to tell me if this is something that you do. This is hilarious. Quote, we often scream at each other, but we scream encouraging words or I love you. We find that screaming feels more heartfelt and it's funny, end quote. So it's kind of like, I love you. And I mean, wow, the passion or the excitement or the love that's behind that scream or that yell is amazing. And then I also had another student who talks about serenading in the car and we scream songs at each other. So it's just like Whitney Houston's, okay, I'll stop. But that's the idea, is that there's lots of ways to do it without it being like serious and saying, I'm looking in your eyes right now and I love you. It's like No, hey, guess what? I love you. And then I'm going to scream it. Hey, guess what? I love you. Oh gosh, friends are amazing. I want to hear all the ways that you show your friends that you love them, because I think there's all these fun ways to do it. So the next way, the fourth way to say I love you, is to call. Let's say we talk on the phone, I call them or FaceTime them, and it's like, I want to see your face. So it might be further away, or trying to recreate being face to face as best as you can. And that a lot of times when you start messaging them, it turns into a phone call. Well, it's like, we're both available, so we might as well call now. And for someone who hates talking on the phone, I think if I talk on the phone with you, that is a sign that I do love you, because although I have degrees in communication, I hate small talk and I hate talking on the phone. But I talk to my parents every day, I talk to my brothers a lot, and then there are a couple friends that we do talk on the phone, and that should indicate to them, I love you, as my nephew says, I love you. The next thing is to name it. So this is number 5 on our list of ways to say I love you. And this is nicknames. And I want to dedicate an entire episode to nicknames, because these are hysterical and it's just so much fun. And as soon as I said that in class, I was like, hey, can you write down some things that would indicate that you love your friend? And I'm like, like nicknames. And half the faces in there, they all start laughing because they're thinking of the nicknames that they have for their friends. And so there were a few people that talked about having nicknames and that they come from their favorite TV shows. As a TV lover, I fully support this. I had one student say, I call my best friend Mom because she acts like one, and that's the way I communicate to her that I love her. My best friend Lacey is the only friend that I have nicknames for. She's shorter than I am, so I call her my little homie and always kiss her forehead when we hug. I love that. I call my close friends Buddy. Since I'm not a very affectionate person, this is how I convey my love for my friends, which may be a little subtle. But the thing is, you're doing it. So, all right, buddy, way to go. So I had one male student said he calls his guy friends Boothang, but calls his girlfriends dude or bro. Oh my goodness, it's amazing. Which this leads into number 6, is inside jokes. You have all these inside jokes with your friends, and continuing to bring it up is a way to remind us of nostalgic moments and memories and great times, and those sorts of things can indicate I love you. So it's being sure to maintain those jokes. And one that I really think is fun is with my friend Katie, who I went to graduate school with at Michigan State, and her birthday is in October. So when we were at graduate school, her office door, I put all these things up on her door to be like, it's Katie's birthday. And then through that, we got to the point where it's like, how do you write I love you? And I was trying to write like you would before we had the emoji hearts, and that is less than 3U. And so when I would put it on there, it would look like, instead of a heart, it would look like I less than 3U. So I just sent her a card for Valentine's Day, and inside I said, I less than 3U, and it's been, 18, 16 years, something like that since that happened. But that one always cracks me up. I less than 3U. And so it could be a way to say I love you without actually saying it. And it's worth a smile and a laugh every time for me. And hopefully for Katie too. Another one that I'm not completely on board with, but completely understand that other people enjoy to do this, and this is pranking. That you would only prank the people you know could handle it, right? But I always say be careful with pranks. You might accidentally prank the wrong person, and you might do it in front of people, and it can be embarrassing, but it's certainly a great way to be like, I love you so much because I joked it. I pranked you. Number 7 is text me when you get home. Text it. That is one of the episodes I did. I interviewed the author of Text Me When You Get Home, Kaylin. Check out that episode, but also that is something that happens a lot. We can text that we love someone. Text me when you get home indicates that I care for you. I care when you get home. So I have one student, her friend texts her every day with her parking location. And it used to be she couldn't remember where she parked. So then she started telling Sarah, hey, this is where I'm parked at. And now it's a daily check-in. Okay, so this is where I'm parked today. Hey, how you doing? I love that. And also, is there anyone who wants to be my parking location text buddy? Because I can never find my car. Some of it is it's a Chevy Cruze and everyone's got one. And then it's so much in and out of Moore Hall on campus that I can't figure out which, was it this day that I parked in this row? Or was it this day that I parked in this row? Who knows? So another thing you can do is text people random checkups, letting them know that you're thinking about them. I had students who would send long, I appreciate you texts. And for one of my students, it said, for my out-of-state friends, I do check-in texts that often lead to that FaceTime. So a text it can lead to a talk it, right? And so there are a lot of ways to show people that we love them. Number 8 is post it. Tagging each other in memes online. I do this almost every other day with Alysa, who's been on the podcast, and she does the same, and that is we love otters, and so we're often tagging each other in articles or videos or memes about otters, and she has just recently moved, and so it's a great way to stay in touch and be like, hey, otter, thought of you. You can have mentions on Facebook. You can send them memes that remind them of inside jokes. One of my students said I tag them in tweets and TikToks that remind me of them, and I think that they'll think is funny. And one of my students also leaves motivational notes around the house for his friends who are also his roommates. And isn't that fun to see a sticky note and just being like, I love you, or you got it, or you do it, or whatever motivational things people go for these days. Number 9 is gift it. Buying them thoughtful gifts, surprising them with gifts. And one of my students said, quote, I'm not good at expressing with words sometimes, so I'll make crafts expressing my love or writing a letter. I've made my roommates a mini canvases of their zodiac sign and a little card with some facts about their sign and why I'm thankful for them. I did this for them during Thanksgiving, end quote. And so a lot of times people might make them gifts to show, right? So you can make things, you can create memes, so it doesn't have to be something where it's like, I'm not crafty, but maybe you're creative, right? And so there's lots of ways that we can do that, and I really like that. And now I want a mini canvas of my Gemini sign. I want to know facts about my sign. I want that big Gemini energy. Number 10 is to do it. Do things to show that you love your friend. You can give them musical suggestions or podcast suggestions or TV suggestions. One of my students indicated that they often give their friends leftovers, like so that they have a good meal the next day. Quote, you bring them coffee while they're at work, and there's bonus points if I know their order and can completely surprise them with that coffee. And that's happened a couple times where someone shows up in my office with a chai tea, and it can completely change your day around, and it indicates that person cares for you. They spend quality time together. They call it family time. They cook for each other. When they're friends and roommates, they clean the house to say, like, I care for you. And one of my students talked about having bonding activities like craft nights, coloring, movie nights, and going to sporting events together. So a lot of ways we can say I love you is by doing some activity or doing some favor, doing something for the person. Which leads to 11, help it. Help them when they need it. I support my friends during tough times. Quote, I think male-to-male friendships are expressed non-verbally for the most part. Personally, when I realize somebody is my friend, it's because of the actions they perform for or to me and vice versa. My true friends will help me out when I'm in a pinch, and I do the same for them. It's more about a mutual understanding than it is expressing love verbally, end quote. And isn't that what friendship is about? That's a way to show that you love them, is by helping them. And number 12 is to live it. Live it every single day. Appreciate your friends. Love on your friends. Connect with your friends. And then if you're like, what do I do today? Well, you can hug it, say it, yell it, call it, name it, joke it, text it, post it, gift it, do it, help it, and of course, live it. That's the list I put together thanks to the help of my friends and the things that I think about is important in saying I love you to your friend. Today is Valentine's Day, and oftentimes we say I love you to our partners or potential partners or people we're talking to or dating or whatever the case is, but we don't often say it to our friends. So if you are verbally able to do it, then do it. And otherwise, there's lots of other ways that you can say I love you to your friends. And one of the things is there was a little Buddha article that I found that's in my show notes. It's 52 ways to tell someone you love and appreciate them. So sometimes for people it might be hard to verbalize and they don't actually want to use those 3 little words, I love you. There's lots of other ways that you can say I love you to a friend. And so I wanted to share some of them. I'm not going to do all 52, but you can definitely go check out that article, especially if this is something you would like to do and haven't been able to express beyond, focusing on the I love you. Okay. You are special to me. Is there anything I can do to help? I accept you as you are. You inspire me. I really appreciate it when you ... insert whatever they do. Your thoughtfulness is a delight to receive. I feel so relaxed and happy when you ... whatever, insert. I trust you. Knowing you gives me courage. The world is less scary when I'm with you. You are so generous in spirit. Your wisdom has saved me. I enjoy your sense of humor. I love that you know me so well. I can be me when I'm with you, and I hope you feel the same way. Those are just some of the ideas of how you can verbalize your love if you want to move in that direction. If not, there's 11 other ways that you can do it, right? And so many more within those 11 ways of this list that I created. There's 12 total. 1 is the verbal. 11 other ways that you can show people that you love them. So I would love to know how you show or tell your friends I love you. How do you say I love you, friend? Let me know. You can let me know on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at bestforeverspod. And certainly you can send me all sorts of ideas at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. I definitely want to know about nicknames. Any of these things can turn into a full-blown episode where we can talk about these experiences and ideas. And I just love the love. So love on me with the love for your friends. Tell me everything I want to know. I want to know. So until next time, friends, be sure to tell your friends you love them in your very own way. Because without our friends, who would we be? Thanks for listening to Best Forevers. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and of course, share with a friend. Please be sure to follow Best Forevers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Best Forevers Pod, and I'm at Dr. Alysa Lucas on Twitter. You can always find the podcast webpage for more information at bestforeverspod.com and share your stories of friendship by emailing me at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support the movement to love on our friends more, check out the podcast on patreon.com/bestforeverspod. Now, friends, check out this recommended podcast that you must get in your ear holes immediately.
In a world of what are yous, welcome to the place where the answer is always human. My name is Natalie, and I'm the host of Some Kind of Brown. I was born and bred in the southern Bible Belt of the US, and if you know anything about the South, growing up multiracial was some kind of an experience. Join me in this community where I share my stories, am joined by guests who share their own, and talk about pop culture events that affect us as mixed people. You can find Some Kind of Brown on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and most places you find podcasts. I'll see you there with some more shades of brown. Is that an ice cream?